Alright, finally we can start attaching all of the components together and eventually add the materials. So what we want to do first is make sure that we can select everything without selecting the cameras. So we can delete these and the lights. So we only have this. And then what we want to do is make a new Blender file. And delete everything. Actually, not the camera and the light. Actually, so we'll leave these. We're gonna use them later for the whole scene. So what we want to do now is select everything here and Ctrl C, copy selection to buffer. Yeah. So now we can paste it. Ctrl V. There we go. And we got our first component, our fifth component, but yeah, and already settled. So that's done. We can close this file. Save it just in case. And we can save this one as well. And we're gonna call it scene robot. Alright, save Blender file. So the camera is already in here. I don't know why it's in here. So we can delete, actually at the moment we can delete all the things at the moment. We won't need them, and we will add them later. So so now we open the other project, which is the arm and hand. So we can delete this and cameras and lights. So everything. Ctrl C, capital buffer, and we paste it in here. Gonna take a while. No worries. And yeah, we're eventually gonna copy and paste for the other arm. We're gonna copy and paste it for the other arm. And I believe we can still move it. I'm not too sure, but if I'm right, we can even position the arm like RX, something like that, and eventually like set it up yourself. GYX, something like this, and of course but it's up to you. For now we are gonna leave it like it was before. We can also set one thing, but we're gonna deal with this later. Also, what we can do at the moment is set these, Ctrl G to make it 1. It's gonna take a while. And edit mode. Because we cannot really move the fingers already. It's just for scenery, so we don't really need to move it. But for future needs, because we need to reposition the arm, we're gonna move the pivot point right here. Maybe a bit G. Let's use the orthographic view. So by pressing 7 before it crashes, obviously, and so G. I'll move it here. It's gonna take a while because I'm recording. Also, there's loads of polygons. So G once again. I don't know why it's not doing it. Alright, so once again G, just to move it a bit like that. That should do the job, hopefully. It's really slow because of the amount of polygons. And 3. So this is the problem of having too many polygons, but the results are gonna be better, a bit better. And my bad. So and let's G and move it here. There we go. Perfect. So now we got it right in the center. And if we happen to in wanting to rotate it, boom. Alright. Enough of this. We can reposition it. Take a while, but it's worth it. And there we go. Yeah, fine. Alright. So now we can save the project. And eventually, what we also want to do is mix these two together, because we don't want them to move individually. Alright, and same thing for the ball. No, actually the ball is fine, because then we are later going to move. So what we want to do now is Ctrl P to make this the parent object, and same thing on here. Well, we're going to make this the parent of this, so Ctrl P object, and the spring inside we're also going to make give it a parent, and the parent is going to be the ball. So also what we want to do, there we go. So let's check it out. Yep, moves smoothly, perfect. And at the same time we can rotate this, rotate, well, not exactly, so this is the problem. What we can do is before it lags, so before everything we save, Control S to save, obviously, in case it crashes, and we go on local and rotation and X. So now we can move the arm like that, and that's it. I've just noticed maybe like the problem with this hand is that it cannot move like this, which it technically could have if we left this separate, which I'm starting to rethink this, but yeah, it's too late now. But yeah, we can move the arm now, and eventually like give it a position for the robot, and it looks pretty good, the thing. But anyway, let's give it another save just in case, because we're about to open another project, and yeah, I want to quit. And now we go Blender once again. We open the head component, which is also the body component, and well, it's not exactly the same thing. Oh, I opened the hand. It's not exactly the same thing, but I put those two files together because of a matter of shoulders, of the shoulders. Head component. There we go. So alright, so what we're gonna do now is opening up our project. So now we want to import the third and fourth component, which comes together. So open it up, and we want to select everything, and Control C to copy. We can eventually close this. Okay, and Control V. And we want to obviously scale it down because it's currently too big. So X Z 90. Oh, minus 90. There we go. Let's scale it a bit down. We could eventually. Okay, it looks alright at the moment. It might look a bit unbalanced, so in my opinion, we could G like that. G Z like that. Alright, everything seems fine. Just in case it's not really smooth. Alright. Oh, there's a mistake. It didn't import these. So, quick save, obviously. Just in case we don't lose anything. And we're gonna import these bars in the chest that we had before. So it's probably because I accidentally left them on invisible from last time. Gonna take a while. So yep. So what we want to do is Control C again. And Control B. So R Z 90. Oh, that's 90s. We want to G Z. We even don't want the local anymore at the moment. So yeah, we don't want this. We want this. Just do that. And eventually scale it down. Actually, it might be just easier to undo everything and copy and paste the whole thing. Fuck. I hate my life. I fucking hate my life. Shit. So, once again, select everything, Ctrl C. Now we copy and paste it. Save it. Perfect. And actually move it and then save it. So in case anything happens, we got it all selected. And we can close this. So now, because the file is getting pretty heavy, we're gonna get a few crashes. It's gonna be normal, unfortunately, but we're gonna have to be able to deal with them. And let's cut it a bit down. Choose to position it. So I would say 7 first to position it on the with the orthographic move. Then looks alright at the moment. Like that, yeah. And let's say 3 GZ. And maybe GX. Not GY, sorry. Like that. And GZ. Like that. Perfect. So, in my opinion, we should put the tubes a bit up. So we can do this slightly like this. And put them like this one maybe. Like so. So now if we go in object mode, we can select the cylinders we've put before. H. G. Like that. So G R X minus 90 and G. We place it GX like this and maybe rotate it a bit. Rotate it in the Z axis, and I would say with the local selected, that and that. Looks perfect in my opinion. Very professional. And same thing. R X minus 90 G. Move it. We want to move it down. Doesn't have too much exactly the other one, but it would sure help if it did a bit. And edit mode. G. I would say to save it just in case. May seem a paranoid move, but as long as we keep saving it, there's a less risk, you know. So G, 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 like so. It looks alright. Maybe a bit like that and like that. Alright. Bit up like so. Yep, I like the result. So now we have kind of what we want. We have a start, and yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a lot better than my original planning too, as well. So now we need the connect component, and that is it. We can start adding this, and actually, my bad, we don't need the sphere. So yeah, so we don't need, sorry, this sphere. Oh, never mind. We will not need this sphere then. I'll explain later how we're gonna fix everything in the spring cylinder. So it's not gonna be a big deal, but we can delete this sphere. No worries. And yeah, so Control S. we can start adding the hand component to the robot. So G. Oh, problem. Gonna take a while. So we want this to fit exactly this. Control P. Object. Alright. G. Oh, still not. Oh yeah, it's working. Sorry. So now we rotate it however we please. We want to do something like that maybe. So like, because we're later on going to make it look like this robot is getting repaired, so the position is gonna have to be like a bit unusual. That is my idea for the scene. So that looks alright. Another thing that I really like to do is to make the pivot point from the cursor. not from the. I forgot what feature it was, but there is a way of basically selecting your own pivot point as you go along. I forgot which one it was. Might be in this option. Might be this one. So, nope. This perspective. Let's just go back to global and rotate measure. I forgot. It should be this one. So I don't know why it's not working. Alright, for the pivot point, all you need to do is, if you want to change it however you want it, whenever you want it, in my opinion, the easiest way is to do this. Through the cursor, and wherever you want it, you click it. So, for example here, and now the arm is rotating around the pivot point. You may have to like work towards how you want it, but the beauty about this is that you can change it whenever you need it. So maybe let's try to put it a bit like that and a bit down. Maybe we can go even inside the sphere and do it like here or here or here. Actually, yeah. So now it should be a bit better. Like that maybe. Yeah. All right. So making sure that it doesn't go over any spaces, we make it like that. And we can change the cursor again. So that and local, just to change the arm. So let's just save it before it crashes, because it was about to crash. And we do that. And maybe we might want to rotate it a little bit, like that. Sorry, of course. We need to select the cursor first. So do the same thing again. And so where it was before, we rotate it. In the y-axis maybe. So G, rotate. Like so. This one should look alright. Maybe a bit like that. But overall, it looks perfect. Alright, so now we can Shift D, copy and paste it. Gonna take a while. Control S to save it. Default is that every object, once you stop scaling it, it resets to 1. So what you want to do is scale it in the x-axis, well, not from there, sorry. What you want to do first thing first is setting its own boundary and its global. So S, X, -1. And you can see it flipped. It's not what we want. I thought I was recording this all the time. Basically what I've done is position the arms and relocated the springs, and I'm just now I was adding the cylinder when I've noticed I was not recording, so I apologize for that, but it's very simple. I'm just copying and pasting the cylinders, and yeah. So now after this part we only have one more component. Alright, so now we've got the robot on the wheels and it even has arms. We want the robot to even have a face. The camera, which is the main, the main theme of this topic in the first place. So let's open up the project. Open, and it was the Kinect component. Perfect. So this is our component. What we want to do, same as always, delete everything that is not going to be used, and Control C, copy the buffer. We can even close it. We don't need to save it, obviously. Oh, I see a problem. It's gonna crash. We tried. Let's do G. We can. Scale it. G to apply it. I'm gonna place it in an unusual way. I'm gonna make it a bit bigger than the drawing because I've noticed the Kinect was not as noticeable. So I'm gonna make it a bit like that. And actually, no, scale it down a bit more. Just so that you can still see the spheres here. And I know it overlaps, but that is alright because this is a different material, so it's gonna look like that. Perfect. So now this robot of ours has eyes, it can communicate, it can pick up things, and it can move. We have the perfect sample of a security robot. And yeah, this is finally done. We can work on the material. So we save it. And so for starter, we're gonna work on the metal bits. So we're gonna start with actually no, I forgot about one small part. We want to apply the grid in the Xbox. So Shift D. Almost forgot about this one. Escalate the axis and oh. And we're done. Everything is settled. So here is the model. Looking pretty good. You got the arms, you got the wheels, you got wires, we got everything. And I'm pretty happy. I didn't expect the in my opinion, I thought it was gonna look not exactly like this. So So I'm pretty happy with the result that we have. So yeah. Alright, so unfortunately, there's been another problem. I've basically made the video too long. Basically, I've went over 2 hours to explain all of the materials, and I didn't have enough space. And so I'm gonna have to make a summary of everything I've done here. Since the overall video is more or less gonna be 2 hours, it would have been overall 4 hours of videos of me explaining the material editings. So instead of that, I'm just gonna explain roughly what I've done. So on here you can see how I've set up the scene. I've put the plane on here, pretty much in front of the camera, hiding a bit the feet so that it doesn't, interfere with the 3D illusion. And I placed the robot in the middle of the background that we've made earlier, and then I've applied the materials, which I'm gonna show you later how I've done it. And but before I show you that, I'm gonna show you the rendering settings, which is basically I started using my GPU compute, which is my computer graphic card, and then I use my computer graphic card to render everything, making it faster and obviously giving a better resolution. And I gave a 500 render samples for the final rendering to give a higher quality. And the light pass, I put a 6 to this. Well, basically, this one simplifies the light, shadows, bounces, and all that things. Basically, there is a limit of how bright something can be, and you can control that limit using this one. So because this one was a dark file, oh, just crashed again. Perfect. Because this one was in a dark environment anyway, I put it I've put it to an 8 instead of 12, because that's the original number. Like in a default version, you would get 12. 12 has the maximum light path depth. So what I've done next is well, this one no, this one's so I click simplify, and I put AO bounces too. I don't exactly know what this one does. I just know that this settings actually helps you improving the rendering and making it faster. It's usually used for for rendering animations, but since it's still better to use it. And because my rendering type of graphic card is fast and it is powerful, but it has only one tile, I put 500 and 500 times 500. I'm not sure if it's pixels or I don't know what it is, but it's basically a pretty large square, and it does the job pretty good. And of course, this one is the settings for the resolution, and I believe that's it. Yeah. Oh well, and sorry, the other one is denoising. This one prevents the rendering from giving the cycles noises that you usually get on in a rendering. So I'll show you really quick. If we happen to render something with cycles, obviously, we get this result, and you'll see in a minute. This is just the preview, by the way, so the preview doesn't have the denoise on because you don't really need it, and also the denoise happens after you've done the rendering, as it's like a filter. Oh, perfect. You know what? I'm just gonna show you on file. So if we get a default cube and we want it to render it on cycles, this one is EEV. So still not used to the new. So you can see there are noises at first, obviously, because you know there's not much in it. You don't really see them, but these are the noises that I'm talking about. If the rendering is too complicated, the noises are going to be obviously a lot more. So, so like G 50. So I don't know if this might be able to show you, but yeah, pretty much that. So I'm gonna explain now roughly how I've done, how I've applied the materials that I had on my robot. So there are there are 7. All right. So we're gonna make 7 cubes and a final circle one, which I'm gonna explain later. So should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And this one is a final circle. You know what? We can just make circles actually. No, never mind. So shift add circle G. Just make it F at the moment. And this one is gonna be used for the lens texture. So rotate it like that. And we'll rotate it like. So we rotate it like this to give us the overall idea of what we've done. So to start, I've made the list here. So we're gonna start with the metal. I'm gonna explain how I've done the metal and how we can eventually basically make it time, I think. How we can adjust the metal how we want it. So however we want it. So like maybe rougher or smoother or anything like that, or maybe like more reflective and so on. So to start, we're gonna go on the material here, and we're gonna start by going in the by selecting as a surface a glossy material, which is basically what makes it shiny or whatever. And we're gonna set the roughness to 0 at the moment. Now this is highly unrealistic. Every metal material have a bit of roughness, but this is just a start to get an idea. So this is what it looks like at the moment. Now we're gonna these are not the same. We're gonna add a different material later on in these cubes, but the reflection kind of style is gonna be eventually like this, and once applied. So we want to start adding a bit of details in it. So obviously, like I said before, we add a bit of roughness, and also what you want to do is you can change the color however you want. For example, in the robot, sometimes you get a bit of bluish for the light metal, and a bit of dark for the darker version. So like that, like this. It's up to you how you want to do it. And for the displacement, you can either go on here, or what I prefer to do, in my opinion, is going in the shading here, where it helps you a lot with the whole material. What you do basically is Shift A, you search for normal map, and you copy in the displacement here, and Shift A, Shift A, image texture, and you put it in the color. So now we're gonna use an image texture as a normal map to add the details that we want. I've got these textures from the internet, and they've been saved since I've pretty much discovered the normal map texture. So these are pretty used images you can find it online, and also a website I use to generate these images if I don't have the texture for it is this. I'll show you. It's called Normal Map Online. You can upload any image in it, and it's gonna eventually transfer it to a normal map, or a displacement map, which is also used for more details, but in this project, for example, we haven't used it yet. And ambient map, specular, and so on. So for now, we're gonna use well, anything right here that has a bit of detail. So I would say this one. Alright, so you can see it's a bit too much, and also you might want to give it more detail. So what you want to do is go first thing first on UV editing, and you want to be on a material, in material state. There we go, like that, and with the image we referenced. So on here you can edit each face to fit however you want it. So but because we don't really need it at the moment, we can just scale it down like that to add a bit more details, and we could even do this, separating each faces that we want to. So something like this. I don't know why it's not working, but it was working before. Oh well. Alright, so whichever you select, if you press transform, whichever you select, you can separate it. So before we select, like for example, one of them, and with the transform tool, you can eventually select it, and it does that. I don't know why, but you can select it and do whatever you want, and as long as you don't see too much of a change. This one may look a bit odd, but it's under it, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, you get the point. Now we go back to shading, and we might want to put the strength a bit down, and I'd say about 1 would be alright. So this is what I've came across during the modeling, the original Blender. So in some areas maybe like there is a rougher thing, and it might look good from far away, but then when you get close, you're like, it looks like a bunch of tin foil wrapped around the cube, so it's not really that nice. So I'd rather just stick to a bit of low quality, if anything, 150, 0.150, to kind of give a lot of details, but not too much to the point that you cannot even distinguish that it's a metal in the first place. So for example, in my some of my renderings, these are my test renderings, you can see in this one mainly that it looks just like a bunch of tinfoil, and even this one especially. But yeah, you can fix it by lowering the strength however you please, and yeah, so that's pretty simple. So now we can create a new material. So instead of this, you press new, like that. This is how you create a new material, and this is gonna be the, let me see, Amnesion. This is actually the easiest one. You can use this both for background pictures that you want to reflect on the rendering, or you can just simply use them as color. So we're gonna do, I'd say we can do both actually. So we start by doing emission, and we're gonna copy and paste it. We're gonna do 2 of them. So, oh, I didn't put emission. Mission. I don't know how to pronounce it. So I'm gonna press plus. I'm gonna press. So actually, we're gonna start naming them, just because I really cannot do it for you. So metal. We're gonna name this well, light. Color. I apologize for the background noises. That is my sister yelling like a fucking cunt. This is alright. So, what we're gonna name it light. Texture image, yeah. And so for the color one, we can change it to any color we want. So, for example, we're gonna put green. Alright. And this one can eventually be used. You know, if we happen to use the rendering version, you can see the reflection on here. So now we're gonna do this, and this is one of the ways I've applied the materials in the same mesh. I'm gonna show you straight away. You press the wanted polygons that you want to eventually, place. This is pissing me off. My door is shut, by the way. My door is shut, and this fucking bitch, you can hear this fucking bitch in the background while the door is fucking shut because this fucking whore keeps shouting in my fucking ear. So you press assign, and now we put a random image. We can put any image we want. So let's put let me think. Well, let's go in the textures and see what pictures we have, and yeah, we're gonna use like a reflection, So we can use this picture I used for a previous project. Alright. We can, of course, UV unwrap the thing and eventually, place it however we want it. So, like, in this case, we want to do something like this. Actually, it's a lot easier if we just do this. So, G scale, G scale. Oh, it's no problem. So we do 90s scale. Huh, I'm a bit confused now. Oh, it's upside down. 180. So SY and SX to get it's just an example on how I applied the texture, and that's it. You get the full picture, and you can eventually use it as a real life reflection for your materials. So now we can see on here that you get the wanted reflection. Alright, We can even rotate the cube and notice the same thing happening. So see, this is what we want. And you know what, we can save the cube like this to give the, actually we're rotating it the other way because that's not gonna be metal for long. That's not gonna stay metal for long. And you know what, we're gonna also give the sky, so that put a sky on, so that we can get also a more realistic approach to the overall reflection. So we're gonna use a sky texture, and we're gonna give maybe a higher roughness. Alright, so you see the problem that the cube might look a bit smaller than it actually is. To fix this, we need to go in the settings here, in the material, and this is it happens a lot. You put bumps only, and now if we refresh the rendering, we should get the results we wanted before. Now you can notice that the details are not particularly well, actually no, yeah, they are, sorry, but yeah, that's pretty much what we want. So you can see the metal is pretty much like metal, the lamp is pretty much like a lamp, and you can get a halo effect, but we're gonna a glowing effect, but we're gonna leave it at the moment because it's not realistic if there's no dust in here. So in certain scenarios, it's best if you don't put it. But if you want to put it, you can always go in here, volume scatter, and eventually work with the density of it. And that's it. It's a matter of messing around with the settings. So at the moment we don't need it, and it's also gonna slow us down if we do use it. So now we're gonna move on to the plastic, I believe. Plastic. Oh no, sorry, rubber. Pretty similar, but a different thing. So for the rubber, the beauty of it is that we don't need an actual texture. So it's gonna be the default. Actually, no, sorry, we don't need it's not gonna be the default. It's gonna be a surface scattering, but we do not need a texture. That's not necessarily anyway. So we go in surface fire, and we can select any color. So it's usually used for skin material, but because the rubber is kind of, you can still see the light passing through. We're gonna use that at the moment. So to test it, we're gonna shift this, and we're gonna create a sun material. Use nodes, and we're gonna increase the lighting, and we're gonna place it with the x-axis on the other side, and you can see from behind here, you can kind of see what I mean, right? These are not affected from behind, not as much as this, because this one is like organic, and that's what it means. It's basically, it makes something appear like that. So if we even we can even change the color of the light. You can see that this one is more affected than the rest. It depends also how close it is. Obviously, if the light is too far away, it's not going to affect it. And also, we can change how effective it gets on here. So, like maybe on this side, I believe, yeah. So now you can see it's pretty much transparent, almost, you know, to the light. And yeah, it's all a matter of messing around with the settings too. So for now we'll leave it at, we're gonna leave it as 1. The less the number here is, the less, you know, organic it is. So we're gonna delete the sun for now. We might actually make the sun here, but we're not gonna make it as powerful. So stuff like that. Now we finally got the plastic, and this one is a bit different. Here we're gonna do a diffuse material, black. Actually, no, sorry, a big gray, and we apply the displacement again. Map. So Shift A. Sorry, Shift A normal. Map to the displacement. Shift A. Image texture. Color. And we're gonna use the same image as before because it would be a bit of time waste. And obviously, same thing here, forms only. And let's refresh the rendering preview thing. Now the color might actually make it a bit worse. Make this a bit worse. We're gonna make a white plastic at the moment, and you can see the result here. It can even be used as cubes, but it depends how rough you want it. But usually plastic is about a 1 to a 1, just like this. And in the UV section, you might as well scale it up a bit just to give more details. Something like that, it would be alright. And maybe give it a bit of 2 actually, just to give that roughness that we want. But yeah, the overall result is pretty good. So now moving on, we have glass. Alright, this one is pretty easy actually. So you can decide however you want the glass. And so we tend to use a lower roughness, maybe lower than the metal, because we so we tend to have like a lower kind of roughness on the metal, on the glass. But actually, let's change the color instead of normal. I don't know why it's on normal map here, but image texture. No, sorry. Remove. And oh, displacement. Oh, sorry. I was on the wrong thing. Sorry, surface, glass. We changed the color. Oh, I'm an idiot. What I've done is basically place the wrong material. So, first thing first, obviously, you need to give it a new material. Take out this one. And also, we forgot to name this one. So, material, this one is plastic. Plastic. And where's the rubber? Rubber. There we go. So now we go back to our glass. So minus plus add glass, and we create the glass like that. We put the roughness a bit down. We're gonna put it to 0.01. That's my usual. That's the usual type of roughness I use, because it still need to be, actually no, this one should be, sorry, 30. So that kind of gives. Let's put 50 for now. All right, yeah, you can kind of see the result, and then you can also increase like how you want the glass, how like maybe how thick or how reflective, and all those things. And of course you can change the color, and to add some irregularities you press Shift A, This can be this type of material like this. I used it for a project for a client where I basically had to give this texture right here. Hold on, I'll open it up. This one right here. You can see what I mean. So it was kind of like this, but with a different color, obviously. But yeah, this is what I mean. So you get a nice, you know. So finally, well, almost finally, we get glass lens simple texture pack. Oh, all right, sorry. So finally, what we're meant to do is G, this one, and then Shift A, G, S, Z, that, G, scale it a bit down, G, Z. Alright. Basically, I'm gonna explain how I've done the floor for the shop, the floor material. Alright. Let's leave it like that for now. So for the lens, very simple. Well, for starter, I've used the glass material. So we'll name this lens, and I've applied image texture. So yes, glass, and we put it down. And also I've made it like very reflective type, so that it's still that it was still hold on, I'll show you in a minute. Kind of like this. Yeah. And now you will see now why I've done it. So we change it to image texture, and we open our image, which I've saved not on here but on here. This one is the texture I've used. And in the UV editing, you can go in the edit mode, select your face, and if it doesn't show up, you just do UV unwrap, and the way I've done it for the lens, because it was actually a sphere, was this. I've went on well, I went not on orthographic mode, sorry, I went like this, and UV text, and from view. So now once we get our image up, we can scale it down. So actually select it all, scale it down like that, then SX to get the full thing like this. So now if we go in the shading, you can see what I mean. And maybe because it was still a bit transparent in my thing, maybe we can get a bit of transparency like so, I think. Alright, yep, that looks good. So this is how I've done the lens, and now finally the texture tiles, and this is very simple, honestly. It's diffuse, and then I've added the texture. It's a looped texture, so we can even scale it down however we want it, and this is it. Hold on, I'll show you. This is the texture. This one. You can see how easy it is. You can scale it down, do whatever. So take X, Y, like that. if we well, we could also add a normal map to make it more detailed. However, it was a bit useless because it would just be rendering consuming. But this is it. This is the type of renderings I've put in, type of materials I've put in. So yeah, that's how I've done it. With the render settings I set up before, I then pressed F12. Actually, let's just go over it again. So GPU compute sampling, yeah, that would be alright. For this one, well, for the one I've used was 500. Denoising. Simplify. Let's put this into out to 3. Light paths 8, and performance 500 and 500. All right, let's get press 12 and see the rendering. So here's the final rendering. You can see the resolution, and that's it. We can eventually press save as and name it whatever you want. So test material rendering, save as image, and that's it. Now I'm gonna show you the renderings. So that I've done. Yeah, we can save this. Right. And so the materials. I'm gonna start by showing, well, the first final render, which was me trying to figure out what the materials were gonna look like, and I was pleased with the background, but I was not pleased with the main materials here. As you can see, the normals were very rough, as you can see right here. Yeah. Another thing is here I've added an LED behind the lens, and I wanted it to be brighter, just like I've shown here. So yeah, these are some close-ups of the arm. You can see here the surface scattering, which is the organic material, and which is basically the bulba. And yeah, some close-ups, and this is the final one. So you can see the texture is a lot smoother, and yeah, the lighting, everything is yeah. Even here, I've smoothed it out here too. But yeah, the overall rendering I was pleased with. Yeah. So this is how I've done pretty much everything, and with a lot of sweat and tears, I've finished completely.